It is Memorial Day. We have a lot to go over today. Feeding Our Future fraudster sentenced to 41 years in prison. Plus, we break down the DNC Autopsy report, and we're going to introduce a brand new segment to the show today. All that and more right now. Welcome to episode 59 of the Republic Brothers podcast. He's Matt, I'm Mike, and today is Veterans Day, May 25th, 2026. Please hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss our next episode on Thursday. As we enjoy the long weekend, Matt and I want to start today by taking a step back and focusing on the true weight of this holiday. Memorial Day is a sacred day on the American calendar. It is a time to honor the brave men and women who put on that uniform, went into harm's way, and made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. It is a heavy cost, and it's one we should never take for granted. So today we raise a glass to the fallen, and we keep fighting for the American ideals that they died for. Well, Matt, it finally happened, some accountability in the massive Minnesota fraud scheme. A federal judge has handed down a massive 500-month prison sentence. That is 41 years, 8 months. Aimee Bock, the 45-year-old mastermind behind the Feeding Our Future fraud scheme, was also ordered to pay $240 million in restitution. Her nonprofit, Feeding Our Future, stole nearly $250 million of taxpayer money by exploiting federal child nutrition programs meant to feed hungry kids during the COVID-19 pandemic crisis. In reality, they created a massive web of over 250 fake distribution sites, submitted completely fabricated rosters of children, used shell companies to launder money, and demanded cash kickbacks. Under Bock's direction, the organization went from managing $3.4 million in federal funds in 2019 to nearly $200 million in 2021 alone. Instead of feeding needy children, the stolen taxpayer funds were used to bankroll luxury vehicles, real estate purchases, international travel, and overseas investments. Out of the $250 million stolen, only about $75 million was recovered. Her dumb idea led to a ripple effect that triggered heavy scrutiny of state oversight, prompted multiple legislative audits, and eventually led to Governor Tim Walz dropping his bid for a third term. Immediately following Bock's sentencing hearing, federal authorities held a press conference to announce brand new charges against 15 more people in an entirely separate, overlapping $90 million Minnesota Medicaid and child care fraud ring. Prosecutors successfully argued for a severe sentence because Bock showed zero remorse. Even after being convicted by a jury on 7 counts of wire fraud, bribery, and conspiracy, she continually tried to blame her own staff, the Minnesota Department of Education, and state attorneys. While awaiting sentencing in jail, Bock violated protection orders by orchestrating a public relations campaign through her college-age son, instructing him to leak protected trial documents to lawmakers and the media to try to make herself look like a scapegoat. This woman stole a bunch of money, blamed everyone else around her, even though she was the boss, and then tried to get her son to do her dirty work and make her look like this innocent middle-aged woman who's taken the fall for everyone else's crimes. Not today, Aimee. After everything we've learned, how could anyone think that the leadership in Minnesota didn't know this was happening?
This woman stole $250 million and had no remorse. She couldn't even fake it in front of the judge. Fraud is bad regardless of who it is, and she got what she deserved. Clearly, she's lacking some morals because she got caught committing fraud, and her great idea was to try and run a campaign to get out of it. And Tim Walz dropped his campaign because his response to this was terrible, and the voters saw it. I think most people in Minnesota feel their politicians are probably complicit with it.
Yeah, this was going on for years and no one did anything about it. There were red flags all the way back to 2019. We've all seen the numbers on the amount of money going to these bogus nonprofits and daycares. This is just the tip of the iceberg in Minnesota.
Almost certainly. And some politicians have been quite quiet recently, haven't you noticed?
Yeah.
We haven't heard from Representative Omar in a while. I find it really hard to believe some of the politicians in Minnesota didn't know this was happening. We have questioned Omar's net worth many times. When people noticed the $30 million net worth, she had a sudden change and it was less than $100,000. I think she didn't want people looking into how she got all her money. The reactions to all this fraud tell you they likely knew something, and we need to find out what.
Yeah, I'm convinced that Ilhan Omar was involved in all this. If we'll ever see anything come out of it, I don't know, but
I think they were absolutely complicit in it because they were basically buying votes. The people that were doing it were going to vote for them because they were the ones looking the other way. Why go work for money when you can just steal it?
Yep. Well, speaking of going back and trying to look at what went wrong,
this was really funny to me. I hope they keep this up.
The Democratic National Committee officially released its 192-page post-election autopsy report analyzing the party's defeats in the 2024 campaign. Authored primarily by Democratic consultant Paul Rivera, the document delivers a sweeping critique of the party's strategy, messaging, and demographic outreach. The release is seeing some internal friction, of course. DNC Chair Ken Martin openly distanced the committee from the findings, stating that the DNC does not endorse or independently verify many of the report's assertions. So here's what the report says they did wrong. The report argues that the party's heavy emphasis on identity politics alienated working class and middle American voters. It warns that millions of voters in middle America and the South no longer see themselves reflected in the Democratic vision. The report explicitly critiques the campaign's assumption that strong urban and suburban margins could offset deep losses in rural areas, stating the math doesn't work. It urges future campaigns to directly engage rural communities with a simple mandate: show up, listen, and then do it again. The autopsy highlights a severe drop-off in support among male voters, including men of color, warning party leaders against assuming that racial identity alone will guarantee votes without direct, economically focused outreach. In a departure from typical post-election commentary, the report claims Democrats made a fundamental mistake by assuming Donald Trump's vulnerabilities were already baked in. It notes that leadership actively decided not to engage in negative advertising at the scale required. Aligned super PACs like Future Forward focus heavily on defending the administration's economic record rather than aggressively attacking Trump's platform. The report concludes that because voters were driven by economic frustration, Harris ultimately lost the economic argument.
That to me sounds like they're saying their Trump derangement syndrome isn't strong enough and they need to go farther.
Yeah. The report places a significant portion of blame on the Biden political operation, asserting that the White House failed to properly position, leverage, or prepare Kamala Harris during her vice presidency to lead to a national ticket. According to the report, the campaign's pollsters realized late in the summer that Harris was completely trapped by the Trump campaign's highly effective attack ads regarding her past support for taxpayer-funded gender-affirming surgeries for prison inmates. Because Harris chose not to alter her policy position, strategists concluded there was no effective counter-response available. What the report doesn't say has drawn just as much attention. It completely ignores the internal crisis surrounding Joe Biden's decision to run for re-election at age 81, as well as the rush process that led to Harris's nomination. Also, the words Gaza and Israel do not appear anywhere in the 192-page document. So let's break this down. The 192-page report does not read like an objective analysis. It is 192 pages of excuses. The report basically says that they didn't smear Donald Trump enough. This is borderline gaslighting. The 2024 cycle featured nothing but negative coverage, lawfare, felony convictions, and hundreds of millions of dollars in attack ads against Trump as a threat to democracy. How could they possibly think that they were being too nice? Their obsession with Trump's character was the whole point of the message.
Well, some of them think Trump is Hitler, so they didn't go far enough in some of their minds. They see him as so morally corrupt that it's always worth attacking him. The Democrat Party shifted way to the left, and they embraced identity politics. How many times did someone in the party blame the patriarchy for problems of the world? How many times were white men blamed for things? They told men to stop talking and just listen to what the women of color want. Kamala Harris was Biden's VP pick only because she was a black woman. The real autopsy, if they had done one, would say they had 4 years of the presidency that went terribly, then doubled down with the terrible candidate that had clearly shown he was too old to do the job again. They spent 4 years hiding the president, then decided to use him again with the hopes Trump would be what won it for him. When Biden showed on the debate stage that he was basically a corpse, they chose the person who was closest to him, who also mismanaged every task she was given. Harris was a terrible candidate, but she was a black woman, so that should be enough. When Harris went on The View and the ladies were tossing up softballs for her to hit, she couldn't do it. The line that should have told them they were in massive trouble was when Harris was asked what she would have changed in the 4 years of Biden's presidency, and she couldn't come up with anything. Remember back when Hillary Clinton lost to Trump, and all they could come up with is that America wasn't ready for a female president? How the times have changed because now they don't even know what a female is. The real autopsy would have said Democrats had two terrible candidates, and the election was a referendum on Biden and Harris. Trump won against Hillary because people didn't like Hillary. Biden won because the election was a referendum on Trump, and people had 4 years of Biden and Trump to look at, and life was better when Trump was the president.
Yeah, the report also says that the party's heavy focus on identity politics alienated middle America, the South, and working class men. But the phrasing used in the report says something completely different. Quote, millions of Americans continue to be persuaded to vote against their best interests because they do not see themselves reflected in the America of the Democratic Party. The phrase persuaded to vote against their best interests is a classic progressive trick. It's basically saying that working class voters are too stupid to understand what's good for them. Is the problem bad messaging, or is it that your actual policies just suck and regular Americans don't want them?
They are saying people are too stupid. They're claiming people are too stupid to look at facts and decide what is best for them. You should let the liberal, college-educated people living in big cities determine the rules for the people living on a farm in somewhere like Iowa. We saw how poorly all the Democrats' ideas were, and they never came out and said the policies failed. There was no new plan to swing voters. The economy was struggling, but the Biden administration said, don't believe your eyes. Just trust me, you're doing great. It didn't work. As we've talked about with Trump right now, Trump is under pressure because gas prices are over $4. That was common under Biden, and it was his idea and his policies that created it.
Yeah. For a report that's supposed to be honest, this report did just as much lying as the Democrats did during Biden's presidency. The report completely ignores all the other stuff people wanted answers to, like, I don't know, hiding Joe Biden's cognitive decline. 192 pages, and Biden's name is not in this thing one time. Or how about anointing Kamala Harris as the candidate without a single vote? Did they all forget about that?
I don't think it was lost on many people that the party who was shouting that we needed to save our democracy was also the party with a candidate who didn't get a single vote. But I don't know about you, Mike, but did you think the Democrats would correctly see what caused them to lose every single swing state?
According to them, they saw it correctly. The right is just a bunch of fascists and racists.
Yeah, the views of top Democrats are so disconnected from reality that I knew they would screw this up.
Yeah, well, before we completely move on from this, I found this funny little skit about this whole report from Dave Jorgensen. I want to play it so everybody can hear it, and we're going to link the video in the description so you can watch it if you want.
Okay, Democrats.
Yes, DNC Chairman Ken Martin.
I've got your autopsy report right here.
About the 2024 election?
Yes.
Which you've had for a long time, but refused to release.
Yes, I've been saying that Democratic infighting over why Kamala Harris lost the 2024 election wouldn't help to build party unity, you know?
But by not releasing it, you drew more attention to the autopsy.
Which is why I'm releasing it here today, completely unredacted. Take a look.
History doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. Did George Lucas write this?
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Hey, people like the Star Wars prequels now. Anyway, no, it was my friend Paul Rivera who wrote it. Hey, what's up? Tucking your shirt.
This guy hasn't worked on a presidential campaign in more than 2 decades.
It's not like we're real doctors and had to get our licenses renewed. And there's a lot in there.
This is 192 pages. Can you tell me the major findings?
And no need to fight over the findings.
Part of the reason that Kamala Harris lost is because of the White House.
It could be one of the reasons, maybe. Who knows?
They didn't prepare or position the vice president well enough, especially early on in the administration.
Makes sense. Biden promised during the 2020 campaign that he would not run for re-election and then changed his mind in 2023.
Right, so when Biden dropped out, Harris wasn't well positioned for political success. But outside of that, I wrote about a more long-term problem. Democrats haven't invested enough on a local and state level.
We've been winning those races lately. It's a referendum on Trump.
And Republicans still love Trump. This last Tuesday, all of the Trump-backed Republican candidates won their primaries. Meanwhile, the Republicans who have been going against Trump lost.
It started 9 months ago, and they didn't even have a candidate, and they decided they want to take me out.
Also, Republicans made a lot of headway with young people in 2024.
So Democrats need to do more to reach younger people.
Bingo, like Turning Point USA for Democrats.
Did you mention Biden's support of Israel anywhere in here, which was unpopular with leftists and young people?
In that report? No.
What are all these red markings?
Those are annotations that we made after receiving the report.
Multiple red lines point out that something contradicts public reporting, and several times you just highlight the header of a section and say no sourcing provided for several claims in this section.
Hey, I was taking this pass-fail.
Well, you can see another reason why maybe I didn't want to release it.
Just give it to me straight. Am I going to die?
Maybe.
What? No, you're winning plenty of races in deep red states where you never had a chance before.
For now.
Let's meet back in November and reassess. Go ahead and head back to the swamp for now.
Look, I know I'm wearing the donkey mask from Shrek, but...
Oh, no, I meant DC.
Right. Okay.
That is meant to be parody, but it's pretty accurate. We haven't even mentioned foreign policy in our assessment, but we'll do that now. Biden's response to the war in Ukraine was pathetic. His reaction to Israel and Hamas was terrible. His withdrawal from Afghanistan was a complete disaster. Biden has been on the wrong side of history when it comes to foreign policy for his entire political career. The Europeans loved him because he was easy to manipulate, so they got what they want. Our enemies also wanted Biden and Harris for that same reason. They knew a weak president would make it easier for them to get what they want. Trump was supposed to be the Russian agent, yet Russia wanted the Democrats in power. What a surprise.
Yeah, just a complete failure all around in this autopsy report. It was not at all honest.
That's a good thing, though. It's tough to solve a problem if you don't know what the actual problem is.
Yeah. All right, Matt. Well, it is time. We are introducing a brand new segment to the show today. We pulled a bunch of videos from social media. We're going to play them and then give our reaction. Some of them are informative. Some are just meant to be funny. It's just a mixture of stuff we see on social media. Since this is all about scrolling on the internet, this is the feed. Let's start with Spencer Pratt's latest ad.
Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, and I had to take a minute to run for mayor. I'll tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel Air. Los Angeles Palisades, in my backyard is where I spend most of my days, feeding hummingbirds, relaxing all cool, avoiding all the bums outside of the school. When a couple politicians who were up to no good started making trouble in my neighborhood, I got in one little fire. My mom got scared and said, "You're moving in with Harvey Levin in Bel Air." About 7 or 8, and I yelled to the rubble, "Yo ho, smell you later." I moved to my kingdom, I was finally there to sit on my throne as the Prince of Bel Air.
For anyone who hasn't seen the actual video, it is hilarious. Spencer Pratt has been coming up with some of the best campaign ads we've ever seen, in my opinion, and remixing the Fresh Prince of Bel Air theme song had to trigger some people.
That is a very effective ad. His nice new home is a trailer because of all the red tape. You just can't rebuild anything. Do you think, Mike, the people of LA would vote Republican? I hope he wins and can fix some of the many issues in LA, but I'm not sure they will.
you don't see any chance of how, like, New York went so long with a Democrat that eventually they were like, oh, man, we got to try something different here?
Well, yeah, it can get so bad that people will vote the other way. But are we there yet? I mean, do you think the blue-haired liberal ladies are voting Republican?
I doubt it. Plus, you got all the other people that are upset with ICE and everything in LA. I really don't see them voting for a Republican. I don't know if you've also seen, too, Spencer Pratt's been, like, pressure washing. I don't remember what the exact message is, but he's basically taking a stencil, or he's got people taking stencils, and they're pressure washing it into the street. So, A, you can see how dirty the street is, but then he's also stenciling in, hey, vote for Spencer Pratt. It's kind of clever.
Good idea.
And the only way to get rid of it would be for them to come in and actually clean the street.
Again, I hope he wins. I also wonder, with just how liberal most city councils are, would he actually be able to get anything done? I hope so, but I have my doubts.
Yeah, hopefully we will find out. Now, again, just in case anyone wants to go watch the videos and not just hear the audio, we're going to link all the videos in the description. Now, next up, I am bringing receipts. I don't remember if I said this in the last episode or the episode before that, but here is the proof. Joe Biden said it.
The war has pushed prices up. They could go as high as $200 a barrel, some analysts think. How long is it fair to expect American drivers and drivers around the world to pay that premium for this war?
As long as it takes.
So Sleepy Joe says it, and it's okay. But if Trump wants to stop Iran from having nuclear weapons, and we have to deal with higher gas prices for a few months, that's bad. That's inexcusable, apparently. People wouldn't think politicians were so bad if they could just show a little bit of consistency every once in a while.
You don't put an end date on something if you don't know when it will end for sure. In Biden's case, I don't think he had a plan for much, so that's why he was always using that line. I think Trump knows right now he is dealing with terrorists who will do everything to damage him in the U.S. An end date would give terrorists leverage. And do you think they would use it?
Absolutely. Could you imagine, though, if Trump stepped up to the podium and just said, yeah, as long as it takes. You're going to have to suffer as long as it takes. Instead, he's using the smarter option, like you said, and not putting an end date on it.
If he put an end date on it, Iran would most likely say we're going to have a deal. And on the last day, Trump would say, look, we got a deal, and Iran would back out. And the American media would rip Trump for it. You're dealing with terrorists. That's how they work.
Yeah. Now, this next clip might be one of the most hilarious clips I've ever seen. I'm going to let you take the ball on this one because I know you love this one.
So you're saying if you're not a woman, then you shouldn't have an opinion?
Where does a guy get a right to say what a woman is? Women only know what women are.
Are you a cat?
No.
Can you tell me what a cat is?
This is actually a genuine mistake. I am sorry I even came up there.
You want to tell us what a woman is?
Good Lord. A man who says only women can define what a woman is. These are also the same people who say if you can't see it, it's not real. To that we say oxygen. Can't see it, but it's there. Now, you know that person is a liberal, and their vote counts the same as ours. But you can see there aren't any brain cells that function in that head.
Yeah, if anyone's going to go back and watch any of these clips that we're linking in the description, this is the one you have to see. The look of defeat on this person's face when Matt Walsh says, "Can you tell me what a cat is hilarious."
They realized that Matt Walsh was smarter than they were. Not that that was difficult.
Yeah.
They realized they were overmatched, so they ran away.
I think they knew the moment he said, "Are you a cat?" They just knew, oh, I see where this is going. And then, like I said, the utter look of defeat. And then them just walking away like, I clearly shouldn't have entered this conversation. Nope, you probably shouldn't have.
With his logic, he should have said yes to the question of, are you a cat?
Yeah.
If you can change your gender, right? You can change your species. You can be trans species.
All right, let's go back to a serious topic. Zohran Mamdani. He's not actually serious about his job, but the older millennial is serious about telling you how Mamdani, quote-unquote, fixed his deficit problem.
Guys, can we talk about the economic illiteracy that is occurring in the United States right now? Because I saw this post on TikTok. It said Mayor Mamdani has reduced the New York City deficit from $12 billion to $0 while increasing social services. Do y'all know how he did that? It's not good. First of all, out of that $12 billion, he borrowed $7.6 billion from the state with interest, meaning that instead of having a $7.6 billion deficit, you are now probably going to have to pay double that because you're not going to be able to pay it off quickly. We know this. And you're getting charged interest. And on top of that, do you know how we got the most of the remainder after the 7.6, how we got to the rest of the 12 billion? By delaying pension payments. He has cut off people's pensions and borrowed money to make it look like he doesn't have a deficit. Guys, this is like filling your bank account with a cash advance from a credit card, and at the same time, cutting off the money that you owe to people who worked for you for decades. That's what Mamdani did. That is how he got the deficit from 12 billion to $0. He borrowed 7.6 billion of it with interest and delayed people's pension payments. So if you're celebrating that, it's because you're stupid.
I mean, I don't think I could have said it any better myself. I think Mamdani needs to give Dave Ramsey a call and see what he thinks about this.
Dave is wealthy, so Zoran would never make that call. He'd just go stand out front of Dave's house saying, we need to take all his money. This was the only solution he could come up with since he couldn't raise taxes. He demonizes the wealthy people, so those people will leave eventually and it'll get worse. The top 10% pay a vast majority of the taxes, and they are the ones who have the money to leave. When those wealthy people leave, the city has less revenue, and it will get worse before it gets better in New York City.
What I want to know is, where are all the people who were upset about their food stamps getting cut off during the government shutdown? They were upset about not getting their soda pop and candy, but they don't have anything to say about people not getting their pension. Why are they not in uproar about that? Those food stamps, people didn't earn that food, but the people not getting their pension, they earn that money.
They haven't started stealing from the pensions yet. It's not important enough.
Yeah.
That money also probably goes to people who won't vote Democrat. Older, retired people typically are Republican. Because of that, they don't care.
All right, we got two more and then we're out of here.
Could you name maybe one or two things you agree with conservatives on?
I think we should probably try and reform immigration in this country. But who's going to park the cars? You know, this guy just left with a delivery order. Who's going to do that?
Wow. This guy sounds incredibly racist. Who's going to park the cars? Who's going to deliver our food, Matt? If we kick out all the immigrants, who's going to do the jobs that we don't want to do? This is the exact thing you would expect from a protester at a No Kings rally. He doesn't realize the irony coming out of his mouth, just like he doesn't realize the irony of protesting for no kings in a country that's never had one.
They don't realize they're basically saying the illegal immigrant is only good for low-value work. The truth is, Americans could do it, but if you get rid of all the illegal aliens, they might have to pay a real wage rather than giving pennies to someone who won't pay any taxes and won't report it. The left loves to say businesses should pay livable wages, but they want the people who prevent it. Get rid of the illegals, and that job either pays more or is automated, and America wins either way.
All right, let me paint you a word picture for this last clip. Imagine in your head for a second a liberal. Whatever you pictured, that is exactly what these women look like.
What do you not like about white people?
1, they breathe. 2, they speak. 3, they have thoughts. And all of it just needs to stop. We need women in power. We need people who are not white in power. We're done with the white men. We're done.
What non-white country are you kind of looking at saying, hey, you know, they're doing it right because they don't have white people?
That's the dumbest question. Ignore.
well, no, if they're the problem, there's people that are the solution. Who's the solution? Who's doing it right?
Women.
Women.
Look at Mexico. You can look at, anything.
Mexico's like a narco state, basically.
Huh?
Isn't Mexico like a narco state, though?
They got one bad area. My God.
It's a one bad area in Mexico?
Yes.
Young women are usually liberal. Mexico, as the example, is funny because the government doesn't run most of the country. Police are scared of the gangs. Funnily, the left loves to say we should be more like the Nordic countries, but those countries are far more white than the U.S. So maybe she has also misdiagnosed the issues, similar to the DNC.
Never mind the fact that the sign she's holding has the word looser on it, when she obviously meant to spell loser. I'm assuming she's from Minnesota and attended the Quality Leering Center, but she said with a straight face that Mexico has one bad area. Tell me you don't know anything about Mexico without telling me you don't know anything about Mexico.
Well, technically, the whole thing is bad, so it is just one bad area. The sad part is, she's probably college educated. That's how worthless some college degrees are. You can tell from their signs as well that they don't know anything about anything.
I just love when the guy's like, isn't that like a narco state though? And they're like, it's one bad area. Okay. All right.
Again, whole thing.
I feel genuinely sorry for whatever poor guy marries this woman. She might be the most annoying person in the world.
It'll depend what kind of guy it is.
Yeah.
Women tend to get more conservative once they get married.
Yeah.
But she'll probably end up with the blue-haired liberal. I can't imagine she would be willing to spend any time near us.
Yeah. That is it for episode 59 of the Republic Brothers podcast. Before you click away, please hit the subscribe or follow button. New episodes drop every Monday and Thursday. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.